Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, we're joined by two guests on our final episode of the, I guess, second official day of Autodesk University 2018. It's been a long one.
I know.
People are probably tired of seeing us on Facebook.
Oh.
So, last time, folks. I like that our assistant Trevor is shaking his head like, yes, all the comments are go away.
Last time of the day or last time of the show?
Oh, last time of the day.
Oh, okay. You gotta make that clear.
The day.
We'll be back tomorrow.
That's right, of course. Yes. All right, so with us is John Grimsmo of Grimsmo Knives.
How's it going, everybody?
Wonderfully, thanks for asking. We also have Mr. Curtis Chan. I guess I was going to say like cam expert,
evangelist.
Evangelist.
Right.
Evangelist?
That name has stuck.
I'm going to call you a whiz.
Yeah, I like
you're a whiz.
All right, so before we get into the hard-hitting questions that we have up there, we've been playing a game with our execs that's been kind of fun, and it's called How Well Do You Know Your CEO? And so we've taken quotes from our good friend Andrew and quotes from other, we'll say, famous personalities. And you're going to tell us if you think it's Andrew or said person that we're quoting. How about that?
And you're both doing this because I know you're on the socials quite a bit. I don't know if you follow Andrew's Twitter feed.
I do not.
I'm really
then
hoping
you might not have any insight. Right, but if you follow Andrew's Twitter feed, you'll get every one of these. If you don't, Kurt, then
Kurt,
and we are reporting these answers back to Andrew. Legitimately, we are. We're going to take all these and send them to him to see how his...
I'm going to be anonymous.
I'm really hoping you beat everyone else. Okay. I'm just saying.
That would be awesome. Okay, so this first group is, and you're going to just take turns who you think it is. So this is Andrew Anagnost or Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, I love me some Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So then hopefully you get these right. So first one, Apollo in 1969, Shuttle in 1981, nothing in 2011. Our space program would look awesome to anyone living backwards through time. Who do you think it is?
Neil.
Ding, ding, ding. You both got it right. I think of space as not the final frontier, but the next frontier.
Andrew.
Neil is correct.
I know you were thinking Neil too, but
you're
trying to go with the odds here.
Yeah.
I deleted my Facebook account 3 years ago. Wasn't hard at all.
Andrew.
Very good.
Andrew.
Very good. I saw you were going to say Andrew on that one.
I feel like John was doing like the looking at the roulette wheel.
Yeah,
and he's
pretty
like,
much.
The next one has to be black. Look at all the reds in front of it.
Pick C for everything.
Yeah. That's right. It's always C.
Yeah.
All right. So the next round, Andrew or Mr. Rogers? All right. The future belongs to the young. It's uplifting to see them own it.
It's Mr. Rogers sounds like.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Rogers.
Ooh, that's Andrew.
Wow, you both got it wrong.
Yeah. We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my community, not my world, not my problem.
It's funny, these are so weighted towards the celebrity.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Rogers.
Hey, Mr. Rogers.
All right, well done.
Yeah.
And number 3, I think it's very important, no matter what you may do professionally, to keep alive some of the healthy interests of your youth.
Andrew.
Both wrong. See, you were a fast follower on that. You just said what he said.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm going to go down with my guy here.
Okay.
Right?
I think Kurt's like, I know I'm up 1, so I'm going to just like keep following.
Okay, next up, this is Andrew or Bob Ross. You know Bob Ross.
Painter,
the painter with the hair.
Yes.
Right?
There. Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing in the world that breeds success like success.
Andrew.
That's Andrew.
No, that is
Really?
You said that with such confidence.
I know,
Kurt.
man.
Man.
If we could all respect how others choose to live their lives.
Bob.
Andrew.
Yeah.
you guys are not doing well for the record. If you're keeping tabs.
For the
not
record,
doing
we
well.
don't know the answer to any of these.
Okay. Talent is a pursued interest. Anything you are willing to practice, you can do.
Agree?
Oh,
Good answer.
That's a
but
good
no.
answer, but
Bob
that's
Ross.
not how the game works.
That is Bob.
That is Bob Ross.
Yeah. Bob.
And
All right.
this is final Jeopardy here. This gets really tough.
Final round. 3 questions. The values remain the same.
Yeah.
Andrew or Elon Musk?
Okay.
Can someone tell me when we're going to stop calling Twitter and Facebook tech companies?
Elon.
Andrew.
Ooh, Kurt with another
Nice.
correct answer. That's why you need solar panels on your roof. Electricity has to come from somewhere.
Elon.
Elon.
Ooh, that's our friend Andrew.
Andrew.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
you wouldn't guess,
I
but
feel
it was.
like after you said it, you were like, ooh, I want to take that back.
I'm sure Elon has said that.
Oh, he probably has.
It was a retweet by Andrew. Right?
No, so when I
That
did,
would be funny if it was.
when I did my crack research, there were no retweets,
Oh, okay, good.
and my crack research was about like 3 minutes.
Ah, 4.
Yeah.
One more question. Growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people behind it as the product they sell.
Elon.
Andrew.
I feel like everybody that works here is like, I have to say Andrew on that one. Turns out it's
That's
Elon.
Elon.
All right, well, that was good, guys. We're going to tally up your scores later, and we'll
Okay.
let you know how you rank up. All right, so moving on. Why don't you kick this off for us?
So, your company makes the sweetest knives I've ever seen, and
Thank you.
And I just had the opportunity to hold one of these, and like I was opening and it was like butter.
You don't just hold it; you experience it.
Wow.
I did
Elon
experience it.
word right
That was
there.
a nice quote,
I
by
like
the way.
that.
We're going to use that next time we play this game.
John Grimsmo or
next year. So tell us a little bit about your company and how it all came about, because it's a relatively new venture for you, right?
I've been doing Grimsmo Knives started 7 years ago, but I've been kind of an entrepreneur, for the past 15 years.
Okay.
So I've always tried, I've always known that I had to find something, had to, find my purpose. Took a long time. I was super into cars back in the mid 2000s, so I wanted to make parts to make these cars faster. So that's when I learned about the world of manufacturing 10 years ago. And then I was like, wait, you can actually get these CNC machines in your garage? And then you do more research and you're like, wait, they get smaller and cheaper if you go to the hobby stuff. So for like $2,000, I had my first CNC machine. I converted it, put the steppers on it myself, and I just fell totally in love with this manufacturing industry. And I'd go to these big trade shows like where we're at right now, but up in Canada, and I didn't belong. I was this, 25-year-old kid at these big shows, have a $2,000 hobby machine. I'm looking at a machine that's $500,000. I'm like, I don't belong here. This doesn't feel right. But I kept going. I started making friends, making connections, both in the industry and in other businesses. And then it just kind of snowballed the past 10 years. And I've absolutely found this is my core, my passion, making things, building a business. Having fun doing it, sharing the process. We've been doing YouTube videos now for the past probably 8-9 years.
Okay.
Over 400 videos about the process of how we grow the business and how we make the parts and how we break tools and how we make mistakes and how we fix it and get better and better and better. So
your YouTube channel is way better than our YouTube channel.
We once in a while think, maybe we should put something up
yeah,
there.
exactly.
I was on yours and I was like, oh man, this is money.
yeah,
So has it been knives the entire time?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. So since I was a Boy Scout growing up.
Okay.
So
Yeah, me
I've,
too.
I've carried a pocket knife since I was 11 years old every day of my life. But I never thought of it as a business until a friend of mine in 2011 showed me like his $800 custom pocket knife. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like somebody made this and I can make them too. I have the skills already. I have the machining skills to kind of pick it up and find this niche of CNC machine knives that very few people were doing.
Yeah.
Most people are like hand grinding, and back then it was almost shunned upon to use CNC too much. You're like, oh, you're taking away from the craft, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, this is the way I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then a couple of years of that, just trying to make the product better and better and better and better and better, and put out YouTube videos showing how we make it and why we make it and why it's important, and all this stuff has really helped kind of exponentially grow the business from literally my garage with no money to now we have probably 1,800 square feet, 7 employees,
Wow.
a lot of really big CNC machines, and having a blast.
That's awesome.
I feel like you had a really good segue in there where you said, these $800 knives that people are working with.
Right.
So I, who wasn't willing to hold the knife because I'll cut my finger off, don't really know a lot about knives, but it seems like, your knives are maybe a little bit more expensive than what I would get at Walmart.
Right.
So could you tell me why don't I go to Walmart and buy a knife, I'd go and get yours instead? Is it all because it's made with love, or what do you think?
It's all the love. It's dripping with love,
love
or blood, depending on who's holding it. It's quality. Like when you start to make something, you realize how much actually goes into it, how much quality and dedication and tolerance and thought and time and design and manufacturing and end mills and broken tools and all the machinery behind it. I mean, we literally do every single process now in-house except for water jet. And long-term, we'll probably get our own water jet. And then we do everything. We do the heat treating, the anodizing, all the CNC milling, final assembly, sharpening, like everything in-house. And because of that, I mean, our prices start at $900 US and they go up from there. We've sold knives for $2,000 and people love them. It's the Rolex/Ferrari of pocket knives. Is my best kind of description of them.
Okay. So a question about the durability and the quality of these knives, but also the aesthetics of these. I mean, when I looked at your website, these aren't just like your usual, knife. I mean, these things they look in some cases like pieces of artwork.
They are pieces of artwork. They're an expression. I'm not an inherently artistic guy. I can't draw a circle to save my life. My 8-year-old daughter can do it better. But I can kind of iterate a design until it's a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and then it's golden. And then I just go with that. And it's an excuse to pour everything I have into one single product. Instead of making 50 different designs, I'm like, no, let me hone in on this and make it the best that this product can possibly be, and then just sell it, go, and keep making it better.
That
That
was inspirational. I'm going to go quit my job and do my passion project now.
All right, so another follow-up. And Kurt, you might be able to weigh in on this one a little bit, too. I don't want you feeling too bad over there.
Dude. I'm his agent, as I told you.
That's right.
And I'll correct. My client cannot answer that.
All right. So you're pretty much an expert machinist, is what I'm hearing. And you told us a little bit. That's what I'm going with.
I am a self-taught hack, but I'm getting pretty good
hack.
Yeah.
So you told us about hey, I got the $2,000 machine. I start adding things to it. I'm moving my way up. Now we have all these machines and everything else. But could you tell me a little bit about the software products that you use to design and then manufacture these knives? And does that actually take away from the art of it, in some people's opinion? Also, we call this a leading question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, well, I can talk about this for a while. We currently use Fusion 360.
You do?
Yeah, of course.
Ironically.
Been using that for 3 years. Before that, it was SolidWorks. I dabbled with SolidCam, and then when HSMWorks came out, I dove right into that. And then Fusion came out. I was actually a little hesitant to switch to Fusion because I'm like, it works. I've got it going good in SolidWorks. But it was like a hard shift. No, I got to do this. It was September, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. I remember that. Yeah. And it was after that, it's no looking back because having CAD and CAM in one system is just the best. And they're adding so much more with the simulation and the generative and all this stuff. I don't have enough hours in the day to play with all the new cool stuff.
I am waiting to see your generative
design. I was thinking about all
that on main stage.
Be done. A handle and
even the blade. You put all these loads in the cutting edge, make it strong, remove everything else. What would that even look like?
That would be so cool.
It would look like knives.
That's going to be your $5,000 knife.
Exactly.
It's going to be
Did you ever see the movie Riddick? The crazy knives? It would look like something like that, space-age knives.
I took a couple generative design classes today, and my mind is just going crazy. I'm like, I gotta stop. I have a business to run. I can't just play all day.
What's interesting though is that when you go back to how you talked about the passion that goes into it, you taught a class today. Right? So if anybody wants to go back and watch that class, it's amazing because when it comes down to just the details of how you insert the little, I guess the bearing, right?
That little ball bearing.
The ball bearing, right? Into the whole process it's that passion you have, right? So I think that's what really blew me away when you said I do everything in-house. And then two, when you talk about Fusion, it's interesting because even though you didn't start there, I feel like it was like a process of you had to gain your respect first. You know what I mean? Yes. You had to talk to other people. You had to feel it out. You had to take it for a test drive.
Right, because this was 3 years ago.
Yeah, this was 3 years ago. It was still growing, right? Traction. And I think too, it's talk about your relationship, right? Of how behind Autodesk, right? You know, where did it really start to kind of pull for you? You said, you know what, I'm willing to do this because of these, like, was there like because of this? Because, you know, you had CAM already, you had this, but what was it to be like, I'm willing to invest to make the switch?
Saunders probably had a big play on that. You know, Instagram was getting big for me, YouTube, all these Fusion videos coming out. I realized even already there were more Fusion videos than there were like old SolidWorks videos. So I'm like, this is really gaining traction. The community is tight. It felt more community oriented, whereas the other ones were like super expensive and super highbrow. And, you know, I'm like, me and all my buddies, we just have these little one-man shops.
Yeah, it's a small business.
Yeah, like, it doesn't feel right to have this fancy Mastercam SolidWorks kind of super highbrow software, whereas Fusion just felt so right, and it cared about the community. So that was hugely driving force.
So Kurt, would you take a step back, and we were talking about and this is for the listeners that might not be aware of some of the CAM functionality that's inside of Fusion 360. So if you could just talk a little bit about just some of what that functionality is at kind of a basic level for folks that aren't aware that it's in there.
Of course. So, you know, when you look at Fusion CAM, right, in itself, I mean, you know, when we acquired HSMWorks here at Autodesk, we took that technology that John was very familiar with for SolidWorks, bred it for a very popular product you guys are masters at, which is Inventor, and then we saw that next vision of, okay, what do we go next with it, right? And we took it and we bred it for the cloud, right? And it was the first CAD and CAM to run on a Mac as well as a Windows, and that really started to propel that, oh wow, you know, Mac started to make that comeback. You know, in the day, everyone thought it was cool to have a MacBook, and we introduced that technology. So as we grew it, you already had 2.5, 3-axis lathe, and then now we're starting to dip a lot more into the 5-axis capabilities. So if you look at what you can do with Fusion CAM today,
you can do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, you can make anything.
Yeah.
Was that the
Autodesk should
that was good.
That was gold, Jerry. That was gold.
Well played. All right, so it turns out that you also have a podcast with another John. Is it John Saunders? Is that right? Very good. So, you know, I'm a big fan, which I'm sure you're a big fan of the Unprofessional Engineering podcast as well.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. Okay, there we go. That was good. I did listen to an episode about paintball guns and anodizing and all sorts of interesting things. So what's the general theme of the podcast? You know, everyone go subscribe, you know, tell them how to do so.
Our podcast is called The Business of Machining. We've been doing it for probably a year and a half now. We're at episode 90-ish. Once every week. It uploads Friday morning. And literally this started out not as a podcast. This started out as basically a business-to-business therapy session. You know, we became friends, and we're like, man, we got all the same problems and challenges. Let's just set up a phone call every Friday morning, 7 a.m. Let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's wake up early and get this done. Let's talk for an hour. What's going on with you? What's going on with me? How can I help you? Things like that. We did that for probably 5 or 6 months before even entertaining a podcast. And then one of our buddies, Rob Lockwood, was like, dude, I got to hear what you guys are talking about. This is not fair. So we're like, okay, let's start this silly podcast.
Yeah.
So we've been doing the podcast for a year and a half, but 6 months before that for this chat, and it's literally our therapy session. So we recorded Wednesday mornings. So I come into the shop early. I turn everything off, everything except for the lights, so it's quiet in there. And John's got his office, and we just chat about business, you know.
Luke and I also record on Wednesday mornings, so that's kind of nice that we do that.
All we got to do is make sure my dog is not snoring, though.
This is true.
Yeah,
no machines to turn off.
Yeah, we don't have machines to turn off.
So give our listeners the lowdown on how do we subscribe on YouTube, the podcast, the other socials, and then let me know, how do I get my podcast and my social to this level so that I can retire and I don't have to come to AU and do this anymore, and I can just hang out on my couch.
Right, because that's what we do all
I
day.
assume
you're not on your couch when you're not here?
No, I'm never on my couch. My kids are taking it. The podcast, Business of Machining, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, Stitcher, and etc., you can find it. My YouTube is John Grimsmo. Instagram is John Grimsmo Knives. Subscribe to all of those. Check us out. We make cool stuff. And as far as, you know, kicking back and retiring, our podcast, we spend literally zero effort advertising, promoting, anything like that. It's for us, right? And we share it. And it's got a decent little following, which is awesome, and we love it. And sometimes we kind of, what do you call it, break the fourth wall or whatever,
Right.
and talk to the audience. But for the most part, we forget completely, and we just talk to each other through video chat. And as far as the YouTube, I mean, I've spent zero money on advertising the business whatsoever for the first 6 years until I hired our media producer a year ago. And now she edits our videos and films and handles the website and all that. So her salary is like the only marketing budget we have, which is awesome. And you know, she's helped us really. She's taken the load off my plate that I didn't have time to do anymore. Because the business got so big that I just got busy.
I feel like we need a marketing associate. Trevor.
What's the lead time today now? You know, I know years ago it was years to get one, but what is it now? Like, as you've ramped up production, as you've, you know, grown your business, like, what do people, if Luke wanted to go buy a knife today,
good luck. Yeah, well, first of all, I couldn't afford it. Secondly, whenever I looked, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, it was I don't know if it was out of stock, it said, but it was like there was like no chance of me buying it.
You actually showed that to me when I came over and we were recording.
Yeah.
You were like, "Look at these knives," and I was like, "Oh,
they're like
how about
amazing." And it's one of those it's one of those I have to ask my my significant other if I'm allowed to do that. It exceeds the typical purchasing power I get on my own. But yes, so what kind of lead time?
Going into it, we used to do a pre-order model where people would specify, I want blue handles, I want this pattern, I want this blade, and then it'll be like, all right, money up front, and then I think it'll be 6 months. Sometimes that took 2 years. So I've got people's money for 2 years. Most people were chill about it, and they were like happy to wait and happy to support my business. Some people got really antsy and uppity, and I'd refund those people happily. But the danger with that from a business point of view is when you take people's money and you take too long to fulfill, you run out of money.
Yeah.
And you owe. And that's a real problem. So, I mean, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, we got tight. Much tighter than we ever should have gotten. So we've transitioned away from the pre-order model, taking money up front. Now we take no money. All we take is an email address, and we enter people. It's sort of like a lottery. I mean, you still pay for it. It's nothing free about this, but your email goes into the lottery. We have a random generator that picks a random email whenever a knife goes in stock. So this puts us in 100% control, meaning we call it the maker's choice. We can make whatever we want. My brother's like, I want to make blue today, I want to make purple tomorrow, or green, or whatever. So we make whatever we want. We get to focus directly on our production capabilities. So now we're trying to average, 4 a day. Let's do 5 a day. Let's get to 6 a day. And it's on our terms, on our control. They go up on the website, the system crunches some names out, spits them out. If nobody buys within 24 hours, it picks the next name, and then perpetually until they sell.
So in theory, Luke could put his name in today and never get a knife.
Theoretically, or he could get picked tomorrow. I've seen it happen.
Wink,
Those
wink,
people
wink.
must be so happy.
I encourage you to sign up just for the heck of it. Like, just
For the
to see if your
experience,
name
right?
ever gets picked.
Well,
I love that.
Have you had people try to sell their slot? Like say, hey, my name got picked,
Yes.
and be like,
Yeah, it happens.
That is brilliant.
all the time.
all the time?
Yep.
And
For
do you
a
have
little
any-
while, people were making a little bit of money from it,
Yeah.
but then it just got kind of silly. So people now just kind of share it.
Got
They'll
it.
post it up on Facebook, or they'll share it to somebody else. This one guy, the moderator of the Grimsmo Norseman Facebook group, which I hilariously have nothing to do with, like a
But it's your
fan
picture.
started it.
Yeah.
And
Hey, fan page.
super cool guy. He actually started a group. The knife is called the Norseman, so he started a subgroup called the Norseman Virgins group. So if you've never had one before, and he gets his hands on a link, then it goes to that little group first. To kind of help
Great.
the community,
I'm gonna have to
get
join.
first timers to
Community.
That's amazing. I have so much respect for anyone who's an entrepreneur, who's gone out and done this, who's like fought that fight and like struggled to make their business happen.
Yep.
It's just looking back from where I'm at now, it's like, boy, to have that faith in yourself and the effort that you have to put in is just unreal.
Basically unlimited effort and unlimited resolve in yourself, because it gets very dark sometimes, literally like crying in the woods, trying to figure this out. Where's the next dollar going to come from, or how are we going to, especially with the pre-order thing, like there's no money coming in because we have knives to make. There's $0 for months and months and months and months. And you got to sustain a business. Terrible idea.
That's tough.
Yeah.
All right, so we have to wrap things up here. We're up against our wall, but John, Kurt, thank you very much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned a whole bunch about knives and maybe not cutting my finger off.
Yeah.
All right, I'm still looking forward to the Ferrari with the Ferrari of knives.
Yes.
right on top of it. All right, so thanks a lot for joining us here at Autodesk University 2018. Hopefully we'll have you back on the show sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.